Hello and welcome to Nostalgia Maker and Texas. That's right, I moved again, hopefully for good, or at least hopefully we'll stay in the same state.
These guys are everywhere. This is one of the biggest ones that I found. I'll put you back, dude.
We moved during the summer and it was pretty hot, that's why I am sporting the tank tops. Sorry for the farmer's tan. It's tough having to reset up my shop twice within 1 year. My last shop in Arizona had a lot of storage and a built-in workbench against the wall. This garage, however, was completely bare, and after trying to set things up, I really felt the absence of not having a second workbench.
It's cedar. I had no idea.
So this video is the result of necessity and resourcefulness, driven by being a cheapskate. I don't know. It's just hard reasoning with myself to spend a lot of money on wood after having just moved. Luckily, anytime you move to Texas, they throw in free half-hewn logs. No, really, these logs were just sitting in the backyard when I got here. I've milled my own lumber a few times in my shop without a chainsaw, and I figured this might be helpful to anyone else who wants to do the same and also does not own a chainsaw. Now I'll let video me describe what I've been doing so far.
First of all, sorry for the sound. My microphone is not working right now. I know I'm in a much different place than what you last saw in the video. I had some family over and they were actually helping me flatten this log, and I didn't include it. But essentially what I did was first take out a big cupping in the middle. I flattened out both ends of the log, mainly with this big hand plane and an electrical hand planer. Then I worked on using the same tools, the hand plane, to take out any twist within the log. I just moved down, but use these to sight down the surface of the log until any significant warps were gone. It's not perfect, but it's where it needs to be at least to start really milling it. But these are all these shavings. It smells so good. I love cedar. I love the smell of cedar. I mean, this is a much softer material than what I would have wanted on a workbench, but free wood is free wood.
From there you can mark out the desired dimensions, and this is how I went about doing it.
So to start marking out what I wanted to take out of this log, I just made sure that the top here was level, just adjusted the log. And then from there, marked out a level line as far as I was either able to go or wanted to go on the bottom here. And then did the same thing, made sure that this line was level up here and there. From there, and this is actually exactly 6 inches. But from there I took some red chalk. You can kind of see it, but it kind of blends in with the red tone of the cedar here. But snap some lines all the way down at the same width of this log. And so that's going to be my layout for milling this log on my table saw. Excuse me. So there's lots of live edge straightening jigs that you can make for a table saw. And all of them are great. I'm not discounting any of them if you want to make them. But the problem that I come across with those sometimes is a lot of times you have to make lots of different size jigs to make up for the various pieces that you're trying to straighten. I haven't necessarily seen this done before, but it's basically the most rudimentary way of basically doing what those jigs do, which is just give you a straight edge to work off of. And I think it's easier to do with scrap wood because you can really do it with any size piece. And then also you're not holding on to a bunch of jigs that you don't want taking up space in your shop. And that's gonna be, make sure your glue is really hot. That way you're able to move it before it completely sets up. So the idea is that at least on one end, you want your guide boards sticking off on one side of whatever you're cutting. So let that dry. You might say, oh, Steven, that's going to be very awkward on the table saw because it's going to be at an angle. No. All you have to do is get scrap the same thickness and put it on the inside of what you're working with. That way it has the same depth. It won't rock or anything. So yeah, just on the inside, really anywhere. You just don't want it to cut. You don't want to cut off the scrap piece, obviously.
There's a few ways that you can mill lumber without a chainsaw. You can use a bandsaw, but most people don't have a bandsaw large enough to mill logs this size. I like to use my table saw. I've always liked the following technique, at least for milling rough lumber. You want to raise your blade as high as it can go. The obvious issue with this technique is that you often won't cut through it all the way on the first rip. The thinner scrap material that you can use for the straight edge, the better. But I don't mind. I like hand tools, and the initial cut from the table saw makes it easy to finish off with this hand saw. This isn't what a tool well is for, but the tool well on my bench really comes in handy for keeping these logs somewhat stable. A quick pass or two with my plane, and I have a nice edge to guide my second pass. This second pass will end up being deeper since I don't have the scrap wood jig underneath the log, and it took me less than a minute to finish it off with a handsaw. Make sure the second edge is nice and straight, and it's time to take off the top. And if you have a brother visiting from Austin, then that just helps all the more. The idea with this last pass is, now that I have two parallel flat edges, I can run the lumber through the saw from both sides to meet the middle. No need for a handsaw on this last one. And there it is, a true 3x6 in all its glory. Now for the rest of the logs. It's a process, bit of a grind, but I make quick work of it.
That's better.
Now that I have my lumber roughly milled, I'm going to make the boards that will create the top of the workbench. I make 8, essentially 2x3s, all 1.5 inch thick, and give or take 3 inches wide. I use this biscuit joiner to join the boards like this. It takes some time to cut all the slits, but I really think that it helps line everything up during the glue up. Always important to make a plan for your glue ups. If you're joining anything this wide, you should have clamps on the bottom and the top of the piece. I always lay down the bottom clamps and then glue everything on top of that. Oh, no. If your wife is throwing out any silicone cooking utensils, these are great for glue ups. The glue comes off really easily after it dries. Don't worry, this is the bottom of the working surface. I had to make the most of my material to stretch it out as much as I could, so the bottom here shows some of the live edges that I couldn't completely eliminate. This is the top. The seams for the most part are really tight. I gotta say, cedar is a pleasure to plane. It just really cuts through easily and makes some really nice ribbons. After flattening the top, I'm going to square up the edges. Maybe. I guess not. While I wait for my battery to charge, I'm going to address these cracks. These all appeared after the glue up. All wood, and especially knotty wood, has tension in it. Because I forced this wood to stay in one place, it decided that it needed to relieve that stress by cracking. Yes, the wood is dry. Regardless, lumber you mill from outside is going to have tension in it. I knew this going in, and this is how I'm going to address the cracks. New product. I have not used this before. Earl's Timbermate Wood Filler. Not a sponsor. Thought I'd give it a try. The colors seem perfect, and it's made in Australia. Shout out to all my Australian subscribers. I think I have 2. I like this stuff. It's easy to apply, doesn't shrink, and it's easy to sand. At least it works great for this application. Now I get to square up my edges. I got this little saw specifically to cut edges. It's a great option if you don't have a track saw, or don't want to shell out hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It's light, easy to handle, and the small profile allows you to run along straight edges very easily. Quick cleaning break with the boy. He likes to watch Miss Rachel in the garage. A quick sanding, and I'm going to get started on the legs. Starting this project, I was not sure if I was going to have enough material for the entire bench. And after cutting 2 legs, 2 side stretchers, and 2 end stretchers, I had to piece together some of the material for the other 2 legs. And after all of that, I still need 2 more side stretchers and end stretchers. So I'm going to see what I can get out of this. Well, I got 2 more end stretchers. Yes, jointed material will be plenty strong for this workbench. And I still need 2 side stretchers. And I'm out of material. So I went looking in the backyard, found this. Seems to be an old fence post. After I milled it up, you can see that it wasn't enough for the 2 side stretchers. And it's a really weird wood. It is the most sappy yellow pine that I have ever come across. I really don't want to use it on the workbench. So I got a log. A whole log. From the woods. What woods, you may ask? It's the ones behind my house. See there. This. I got it from this tree. Honestly, it wasn't too much trouble. I used my large handsaw, and it has a very aggressive blade, so it went pretty quickly. The tree has been dead for years, and has been off the ground supported by its branches, so really it's not too bad. It does have a bit of a curve, as you can see here, but there's plenty of material here to finish the bench, plus it's also cedar. Apparently Texas has lots of cedar trees. Well, as I mentioned before, the first thing that you do is make a flat edge on one side of the log, and I started doing that, chipping away, until I heard a buzzing noise. Oh, hi, little fella. I wish I had more of a stoic reaction, but it flew right into my face before hitting the ground. Suppose I deserve it.
Looks like a big bumblebee.
No, it's not actually a bumblebee. This is what's known as a carpenter bee, due to the fact that they make their homes in dry wood by cutting out perfectly symmetrical tunnels. I've never come across them before, but apparently they're more prevalent in the south, and can cause a lot of home damage.
Seems to be okay.
The females are the only ones that sting, and otherwise, they're harmless.
There's another one in there. Oh, sorry guys. Didn't mean to screw up your home. Crazy thing is they stayed in here the entire time that I was originally sawing this log and carrying it over to the garage.
Well, after that traumatic event, I milled out this log just like the others, and got a pretty decent beam out of it. More than enough wood, with a little left over. And after a few minutes, I had my 2 other side stretchers, and therefore, all the pieces that I need for the workbench. Time to show you how I'm going to build it.
I know, I'm sorry.
Or maybe not.
I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. I didn't film any of the joinery cutting or gluing it all together, but I did what I did. I mean, it's not really, this video isn't really about putting this bench together necessarily. It's really about being able to utilize any and all wood that's near you and turn it into lumber in a small shop. So that's what I'm trying to showcase here, but for now, I'll show you what I have done. As you can see here, what I did, I took the braces. This is joinery that I did, so I cut an inset on this this brace, and then cut the same amount off of the legs, right? So it all comes to flush here. So it's a pretty strong joint. The longer braces have a longer joint surface, and then of course the shorter ones are a little bit shorter, but it's all strong. It all works out pretty good, and it's going to be good for what I want, which is just kind of a secondary workbench. I put some supports up here. I am going to add some panels down here, just really whatever I have left. I'm really coming down to the end of what I have available. The cedar is all pretty much gone, so I will probably stagger what I have left of the cedar, and then of course this very sappy pine. So I'll probably intermingle those together for the bottom. I'll get that done, and I will put the finish on it, and of course put the top on it, and finally get this thing over and done with.
Now I'm going to nail in the bottom planks and slap on a protective coat using my custom finish. This is my rub on oil wax finish that I've been alluding to in past videos. The next video I post will actually showcase the finish. Now all that's left is to clear space, condition the bottom and top of the working surface, wow, cedar is so bright. Attach the top with screws. Stare mindlessly at the TV. Struggle to stand up, and it's finished. Right, so mainly I wanted to showcase milling lumber without a chainsaw in this video. I'm really not putting that much effort into the fit and finish of this workbench. I didn't even bother sanding the legs or stretchers. It's not that I'm trying to be lazy, I just needed to get something in place so that I can set up my shop. And you know, despite my lack of effort, as I put it together, it looks better than I expected. It's kind of pretty. Necessity breeds creativity, right? Even the staggered bottom planks with the sappy yellow pine adds an overall pleasing aesthetic. And I'm not one for naughty wood pieces, but I think it adds to the character and the unique choice of wood for the workbench. And as you can see, it functions perfectly well for what I need. Another space that is not in the middle of my garage to house some tools. All in all, for logs left in a rental property, I like it.